Hey, what's up everyone? John of the Geek here, and today I'm going to be installing Ubuntu Linux onto this Acer C7 Chromebook. Now this is a customized version of Ubuntu, also known as Ubuntu 12.04 LTS for those of you who care. And so before we get started, I want to mention that you should back up any local files that you have stored on the netbook, because it's going to delete and erase everything. If you have stuff stored on your Google Drive and the Cloud Sync, then you should be fine. When you log in again, it'll restore all of that stuff, but be sure to make a backup of your local files stored on here. And you should also look into making a recovery disk. In my previous video, I create a recovery disk using the Chrome OS itself, and you can create it if you want on Windows or Linux or even Mac OS X. And so it's a good idea to have that as a backup. You don't necessarily need it for this project we're about to do today to restore everything back, but it's a good idea to just have something in case something happens and we can't get the Chrome OS back installed on here. Alright, so with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. So first, what I'll do is I'm going to shut down the machine here. So I'm going to hold the power button and it's going to go ahead and shut down the machine, and we got to go into developer mode. And to do that, you press the escape key and the function 3 F3 key. It's the top left little circle button, and so when you hold that down and then press the power button, so you hold escape F3 and then you press the power button and then you let go, and you're at this screen here. It looks kind of scary. It says Chrome OS is missing or damaged. Please insert a recovery USB stick. Pay no attention to that. We're going to press Control D as in David. Right, so press Control D and then this will pop up to turn OS verification off. I'm going to go ahead and press Enter. And then it's supposed to reboot and boot back into your machine. Right, and then we have this OS verification is off. Press space to re-enable. It's kind of scary. You can either sit here and wait the 30 seconds for it to boot up, or you can hit Control D again and it'll skip this and boot up immediately. And so once we have that, we have now entered into developer mode, and so it's starting up here, and you have a last chance to exit out of this developer mode if you want. The little countdown timer is up on the top left here, and if you want to cancel this whole process, you can just hold the power button down to turn off the machine. But we want to continue on and let this move on, so we'll let this boot up now. Alright, so now we are preparing the system for developer mode, and what's happening here is that there's a little progress bar that scrolls across the top of the screen here, and there's an ETA of about 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and wait for this to reboot, and we'll continue on. Alright, so when the update is finished, or the developer mode transition is done, it should have rebooted, but I don't know why it shut down on me. So I'm going to go ahead and power it back on. And when we power it back on, we will be in developer mode. So we can go ahead and skip this. Again, Control D. And so it's going to start up as a normal first time boot with everything wiped out and cleared. Only this time we can get into the developer mode console. And so we'll let this boot up again, and we do have to connect to a wireless. So the first thing you do is connect to a wireless here, but we don't fully log in to our Gmail account with this. So let this boot up. Then we'll select our wireless and connect to the wireless. You don't have to connect to the wireless either. You could also connect to the Ethernet using the Ethernet port on the Chromebook, but I'm going to go ahead and use wireless. Alright, so as you can see here, I'm connected to the wireless, but we're not going to continue on. What we're actually going to do is go on the keyboard here and hold down Control Alt, the CTRL and the ALT button, Control Alt, and then we're going to press the forward key, the forward arrow key up on the top left here. It's also indicated by the F2. So once you hold down Control Alt and press F2, we're in the developer console here, and we can begin by logging in to the user known as Chronos. So it's CHRONOS, right? Chronos. Press Enter, and then what we're going to do now is type in sudo bash sudo space bash, B-A-S-H, right? Press enter. All right, now we're logged in as a local user, and what we're going to do now is install or activate the Chrome OS firmware update, or the developer BIOS as it's known as. So we're going to type in CHROME Chrome OS dash firmware FIRMWARE update, all one word, firmware update, no spaces yet. All right, now we're going to put a space and do a dash mode, MODE, equal sign, todev, TODEV, right? And then we're going to press enter. All right, gives you a little bit of information as to what it has done. And then now we're ready to install Ubuntu. So we're going to press or type in exit to exit out of this firmware update business, right? And then we're going to now type in wget, WGET, space http colon / goo.gl / I, the letter I, 817 V as in Victor, and then semicolon, and then space sudo bash, BASH, space I 817V. Now this URL that we just typed in, http google / I817V, that might change sometime in the future when you're watching this. Hopefully if it does change, I'll have an update for you as to what you're supposed to type in there, because this is the latest version, that's where it's located. And so in the future, who knows, it might go to 12.10 Ubuntu Linux, and that URL may change. So if it doesn't work for you, look to see if you've typed this in correctly. It is very important that you type it in correctly, every letter, all right? And so once we're ready, you can press enter. It's doing its magic. It's telling you something about the version of Chrome OS isn't 64-bit, but don't worry about that. Just press enter to continue. And so now what we're going to do is assign a size to our Ubuntu Linux. Right down here at the bottom, it says enter the size in gigabytes of what you want to reserve for Ubuntu. The most space we have is 293, although 292 is recommended. I'm just going to say 200 because I'm going to leave some space for the Chrome OS. So I'll just go ahead and say 200. You can make that however size you want. I don't know how to resize it later if it ever becomes a problem. So I'm just going to use 200 gigs as my hard drive space. So I press enter, and now it's partitioning, repartitioning everything, downloading some files, working its magic. And so it's probably going to reboot here. It actually shut off. It's my Chromebook has a problem with rebooting, so I'm gonna press power to turn this on again. And so once we turn it on, we're back at this OS verification is off screen. I'm gonna hit Control D. Again, you could sit there and wait if you wanted to, but I'm going to go ahead and skip that. We are still in developer mode, and so as you can see here, the system is preparing itself because we just repartitioned some things, we moved things around, and it kind of seems like we're going through this process again, but it just got things got shifted around, so we just had to sit through this. It's going to take about 5 minutes. We're going to get back into developer mode and then actually download and install the Ubuntu. Right. All right, once again it's turned off, and I'm gonna go ahead and fire it back up. Yours would probably reboot. And so we're back on this. OS verification is off. Control D to skip it again. and then we're going to wait for this to boot up, and then we're going to get back into the developer console. And so once again, we're presented to connect to the wireless, so we'll go ahead and connect to the wireless. Right, and once we're connected, we got to go into the console again. So remember, it's Control Alt and the F2 forward button. And there we are, we're back at the console here. And now what we're going to be doing is, again, typing in Kronos. Then we're going to type in wget space HTTP. Again, we just did this not too long ago. Alright, so we got our long terminal command here, and we're going to go ahead and press enter. And then it's giving you the error again, saying that the Chrome OS isn't 64-bit, yeah, whatever. Press enter, and so now what it's actually doing is it's downloading and installing Chrome OS. Now it's going to take a little while because it's about a gig large, and so depending on how fast your internet is will determine how quick this takes. Your screen might black out, but don't worry, just press spacebar and wake back up again. You don't have to keep it awake, the screen on. Just it will download everything it needs to download in the background, so go ahead and let this run. But if you want to see what the progress is going on all the time, periodically you would just press spacebar or something like that. It won't interrupt anything. And so once it's done and finishes installing, it's actually going to reboot itself, and it's going to go right into Ubuntu. So once we do that, I'll show you after how to assign your default boot OS, or how to get back into the Chrome OS if you want. Alright, our system has finished, and so we're going to go ahead and power it back on again. It should have actually rebooted. Again, I'm having some issues with my rebooting. And so anyways, we're going to hit Control D to skip this. And voila, here we are with our Ubuntu Linux. Wants us to connect to a wireless network or whatever, but not too familiar with Ubuntu, this particular version of Ubuntu Linux, but I'm going to enjoy playing around with this. And so what I'm going to do now is go into showing you by shutting down and restarting. We're going to go in to select, type in some commands to select a specific operating system to boot automatically. Alright, so when you restart your Ubuntu Linux, what happens is that it boots back into Chrome OS. And so what we're going to do now is that we're going to set this to permanently boot through Ubuntu Linux or Ubuntu, and then from inside of Ubuntu I'll show you how to boot back into Chrome OS. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the developer console, and remember that's Control Alt F2. And once we're here, we're going to type in Kronos to log in as a user, and then we're going to type in sudo space cgpt space add space -i space the number 6 space dash capital P space 5 space dash capital S space 1 space /dev/sda. Alright, and so once we press enter there, you don't get any type of confirmation. We're going to type in exit, and once you type in exit, you can go ahead and go back to the main screen here, which is Control Alt F1, and then you can go ahead and hold the power button for it to shut down. And so once it shuts down, we can go ahead and fire this back up, and it's going to start and reboot itself into Ubuntu Linux. Oh, we can Control D, skip that one more time. Right, and here we are back into Linux. Now let me show you how to get back into Chrome OS. And so you can go up here into the dashboard, type in terminal, right, and we'll start up the terminal command. And in here it's going to be almost the same, except the 5 we turn into the 0. So then we'll just do sudo space cg pt space add space -i space 6 space dash capital P space 0, the number 0, space dash capital S space 1 space /dev space, oops, no, not a space, /sda. Press enter. It's going to ask for a password for your user, and if you didn't create one, the password is user, USER. And then that's it, and we can go ahead and close this out and then restart our machine. I'm going to go ahead and just shut down the Chrome OS, starting up again. And so once it reboots, the last thing I'm going to finally show you is how to undo all of this and restore back your whole entire system. So we're going to go ahead and power down the system, so it's off now. And so what we'll do is we'll hold the escape F3 and press the power button to boot into the recovery mode. So we'll press that. Now that we're in the recovery mode, we're going to insert our USB drive that we've used to, that we created. Hopefully you were able to create that. What you could also do is that in the beginning, when it asks you the OS verification is off, press spacebar to enable. If you press spacebar to enable, it will redo everything, and you'll still have your partitions on there, but at least it'll just boot back into Chrome OS. But the Ubuntu Linux isn't going to be installed on there anymore. It'll be wiped out. But this particular method restores everything, all of your partitions, everything back to normal. So this takes about like maybe 10 to 20 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to redo. And so once this is complete, you'll be back to the clean Chrome OS as you started. All right, and so that's pretty much it. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Please feel free to share this video if you want. And I'll have one more last video talking about the Windows installation very soon, and why it can't be done as of right now, temporarily, for now, until I figure it out, or somebody figures out how to do it. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.